Yeah, we'll fix it once I get in here and see.
Having available for people to listen to this. Yeah, no, we didn't bring their own.
And it is recording too.
It is.
Yeah.
Great, so we can share it out.
Oh, yeah.
In the morning.
Hi, how are you?
I think I'm returning. this
Oh,
to you,
yes,
maybe from
yes,
Casey.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could do, these are just our last couple of newsletters from the Montpelier site that I just thought might be helpful for people to see.
A couple more minutes, Kristen.
I think we should get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we can kind of run through and then if there's, I think there could be a second wave, around 5 when people kind of pick
That's
up.
fine.
So,
That's fine.
yeah.
So welcome to all of you. I think I know most of you. My name's Livy. I'm the superintendent. This is my friend Jeff O'Hara. And Jeff is the owner, so that's your title, official title?
Yeah.
The owner of Part2 After School, which is the Part2 program in Montpelier. They also have sites at Williston, Richmond, and South Burlington.
No, Shelburne,
Shelburne.
Charlotte, Heinsberg,
Oh,
Brewster, Huntington. And then we have infant, toddler, and 2 preschools in South Burlington.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So lots of experience. Jeff is also a former principal at Heinsberg Elementary, assistant principal there. He beat me out for the job several years ago. If I do remember correctly. We're finalists at Heinsberg. But he's been working with us for a while. He's super fantastic. And so we wanted him to come so everybody could ask any questions regarding the Part2 program. So what you have in your hands in front of you, Jeff brought some newsletters just from the Montpelier site, so you can see some of the things that go on and some of the communication that Part2 does. We'll just stand here. And the frequently asked questions document were the questions that the Roxbury community submitted on the form when we announced this informal gathering here. So those are the questions that your neighbors submitted with the answers, some of them written by me, most of them written by Jeff. Regarding the program, and probably we can just go through a lot of those because I think a lot of them were repeats, so they're high on people's mind. And then the other piece, Ryan, you want to hold that piece up right there? Thank you very much, sir. That piece was written by some members of MRPS Pi, particularly I think Biba Khan, who's also a teacher at Main Street Middle School, regarding other after-school opportunities in the Montpelier area that folks could take advantage of as well. So that's just some more information for you. All of this is on our website under the Roxbury transition page.
On the part 2 and transition fall on MRPS.
Yep. So I will let Jeff take it away. Maybe a little history of how we partnered. We did in Montpelier have a program called Community Connections. When I first came to Montpelier Roxbury, there are several difficulties that we were having with that as a school district. It was a shared entity with U32. So it was an odd partnership. And through a long process that Ryan might remember well as a school board member, we were looking at several different after school programming, and Part2 won the bid for that. So they beat out places like, come on. Okay. They beat out places like the YMCA, the Community Connections, a couple other places. So it was a pretty intensive program, and they've been with us ever since, and wonderful partners. So the district we don't have anything with ownership with Part2 or anything like that. We're separate entities, and Part2 uses our space to run their programming. So Jeff, take it away.
All right, awesome.
Thank you. I will pay attention to that.
Okay.
And I'm going to make you co-host.
Okay, yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for taking the time to come here. So Part2 has been around for 13 years. Initially got our start with the CBSD schools, and then went to Richmond. And then from Richmond, Brewster, Pierce, and Smiley, and now down to Montpelier. So that's kind of been our evolution. My evolution personally, as Libby mentioned, I was a paraeducator. I worked for the YMCA after school program in Richmond and 1999. So I've been in after school for 25 years. From there, the Y asked me to run a summer day camp at Camp Greylock. I did that and I got a taste of administration and kind of running a bigger program. Then I taught and I did after school. I started schools out in South Burlington in 2001. So I have a lot of experience in after school, but I guess the important thing for all of you to know is that we don't have a set program. It's not set in stone of this is what you do in this community. So our program is we go to the community, we work closely with the school and with, in this case, Libby has been an incredible partner. But we work with the school to kind of see what the needs of the school and the families are in each of the communities. And then we build our program from there. So we're in 9 different schools for after school, and each site is drastically different. Brewster Pierce really values outdoor education. We do a lot with outdoor education. Shelburne Community School has 120 kids at it, so 120 kids looks way different than any of our other programs. There's every group at Shelburne has a lead teacher leading smaller groups because you have to break it down. Montpelier is kind of right in the middle, so it's not our biggest, it's not our smallest. And for what it's worth, we have the most district level support in any of our schools at Montpelier. Libby has been absolutely amazing anytime.
But what does district support mean?
Yeah, so working closely, having it be a true partnership where sometimes when you go into a school, there's a lot of territorial. This is my space. You can't use this. If you use this, it can only be for this half an hour. With Libby, she immediately set us up with the school principals. We sat down, we figured out what they needed, what we needed. And it was just having that support on the top really set it apart from other districts where it was a truly collaborative effort right from the beginning. Not only that, but also we've worked through the pandemic together, and the amount of willingness to help families. It was, this is what we need. Figure out what you need. Let me know. Let's figure out a way to do it. So that, and the other schools, it's like, we have enough to worry about over here on the academic side. You worry about the after school, and hopefully it works out. With Montpelier, it's really been a truly collaborative effort where there's not another, I know all the superintendents really well at the other districts. There's not another superintendent that I can go to and say, hey, this family needs this. And not a single time has Libby ever said no. Like, we figure out a way to get everybody what they need. So I've been truly happy at Montpelier. I think the parents have been really, really happy. We have a fantastic director. As any of you know, whether it's a classroom or an after-school program, you're only as good as the people that are in front of the kids. And the people that are in front of the kids in Montpelier are fantastic. Some of them have been with us since the beginning. We have a really high retention rate. This is going to be Abby's 3rd year with us, but she just moved down to Montpelier. She lived an hour and a half away before that, and she commuted every day, and she loves the program and the town so much that she and her husband moved to Montpelier because this is what she wants to do. So I'm happy to go through the list of questions if that is the easiest thing for you, or if you want to start with questions that are forefront of your mind first, that's also an option. If there's something that you really would like an answer to, that's why I'm here. And I'm not sure for the virtual people how they can raise a hand or submit, but
Like we have anybody there right
Okay.
now, so.
okay.
But it is recording, so people
Great.
can watch it
Okay.
afterwards. I'm thinking about like some of the repeat questions to get us started, like the one repeat question was, what about kids from Main Street Middle School? And,
Yeah,
right, that was on there a few times and then, and me,
Would it be possible to just go quick structurally, like how part 2 works?
that we can start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just functionally.
Yeah.
This is how we work, this is how it usually works with everybody else, with Roxbury, we're gonna allow this, and then, you know, the MSS is already on, so which is it all. But just functionally.
yeah, so functionally, the very first thing that I should say is, one of the more important questions that I want to address. Is that, the software system that we use. Is the best after-school system that we can find, but it's still funky, like this.
The registration
The
system.
registration system, so, because of our tight communication, Libby said the number one priority is to make sure that families in Roxbury that need after-school care have after-school care. So we've already allocated as many spots as needed for Roxbury families. So everybody in Roxbury has a spot in the after-school program. So that's first and foremost. So then the functional part, there's gonna be about 70 kids at our after-school program every day. So we have a lead director, and that's Abby. And then we have 2 assistant directors, and then we have senior counselors, all the way down through. My daughter is 16, she's just getting in, we call those student supports. So just people that can't be in ratio, but can work and get to know the ropes. Kids come in and they break, even in Montpelier, they break off into groups. Abby is pretty creative with how she does the groupings. You take a look at kids and grades and who does really well together and who could have conflict. But the thing that I've always said is it's kind of easier to run a bigger program because you have more options. The kids have more options, the counselors have more options, the director has more options. So Abby will split the kids into groups. And from there, the groups will have some outdoor free choice time, kind of like a recess type of time. They'll have a snack time, and then they'll have a group time inside the cafeteria. So primarily the spaces that we use are that the playground is amazing at UES, and the cafeteria and the gym are the primary spaces. We have access to more spaces when and if the weather is inclement and things of that nature. Kids come in, check in. Abby will make sure that all 70 kids are accounted for. At that point, each of the assistant directors or lead counselors have their groups of kids in their designated spots. Abby's main role is to make sure that the kids know what the plan is for the day. So after that quick, it's like a 30-minute rotation, 20 minutes per rotation. So 20 minutes for snack, 20 minutes outside, 20 minutes of group time. That rotation happens, and then the kids get to select and choose from a list of activities, and those are the ones that are on the calendar. The counselors and Abby sit together once a week and more formally once a month and plan out the activities. The kids have ultimate choice of what they sign up for, and all of those are kind of run by different. So they may not have the same counselor every day. It depends on what they select and choose. So then they select and choose their activity. That group is now a group, and then that group goes with that counselor to that activity. And at that point, it's about 5 or 5:15. Parents with 70 kids, parents start coming as early as 3:45, really, sometimes a little bit earlier, but kind of consistently at 4:30, 4:45, 5 o'clock. What we found is it's easier to be in a consolidated area so that the parents aren't having to come in and go to the other end of the building, or so around 5:15, the cafeteria and the playground space are right next to each other. So we're in that space. Counselors are doing small group activities with the kids that are still there. And 6 o'clock is pickup. So that's kind of the functional side. Just any questions there? Snack is all provided by us. We are under the childcare regulations where we have to provide 1 grain and as much fruit and vegetables as the kids will consume. So we usually say 1 fruit and grain. And we've gone back and forth on size and how much snack is the appropriate. We want to make sure the kids have enough, but we also, sometimes parents are saying our kids won't have dinner because they're eating too much at part 2. So one grain and then as much fruit and vegetables as they want. Kids also will get into their lunchbox if they haven't eaten everything from their lunchbox. If there's something that they still want, they always have the choice of doing that. Yeah, that's kind of how the day runs.
What was the very end of the program?
So the very end of the program,
Same with time? Yeah.
yeah,
What are the
so,
times exactly, beginning and end?
school dismissal until 6.
Okay, and school dismissal at UES, is that the same as MSS?
It's 2:55.
Cool.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock for MSNS. But they start getting us at 2:55. With the dismissal, we will also be moving the late bus for Roxbury after school. Or if we have Roxbury families at part 2, that will be, the late bus will be changed the time. It won't be a 6:30 late bus anymore. It will be more like, depending, nothing is set in stone right now, but it'd be like a 4:45 or a 5 o'clock pickup. So next year we'll be working with part 2 to say Roxbury bus is coming at 5, get the kids out there ready to go to get on the bus. And then the bus will go to middle school and to the high school and come back here.
Yeah,
So we'll have a late bus run for kids who are in part 2.
and that's familiar to us in our other schools, the late bus model. So we're really comfortable knowing what kids get on the bus and making sure that they have everything that they need.
Can you talk a little bit too about the professional learning you do with your staff? Because I know that was really
Yeah.
impressive to people when we were choosing you.
Yeah, so because of our size, we have 9 directors. The directors get paid close to a starting teacher salary. We pay them pretty well. And they're really with kids from 2:30 to 6 o'clock, but we pay them 40 hours. So they have they have more planning time than they do time with kids, which is really impressive. But part of that planning time is once a week, every Tuesday, they're all together from 9 o'clock to 12:30 at one of our locations, doing that professional development, learning from each other, bringing in speaker series. Right now, we're right in the middle of a restorative practice professional development opportunity. It was a grant that was written by CVSD that incorporated after school. And I asked if all after school directors could be part of it, and we were granted that. So it's once a month from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We've had 4 sessions. We're going to something called the Best Institute down in Killington. It's PBIS related professional development. So all of our directors are going down for that. Once a year, 3 or 4 directors go to a national conference. This past year, we were at the national after school conference, and it's in Dallas or Austin. I can't remember. Yeah, it's down in Texas, one of the Texas towns. So we do put a lot of time and effort in professional development, and we really harp on the directors to emulate what we have with each other with their own sites. So every director has many versions of what we do on the grander scale, on a smaller scale. I think the next piece that I'm thinking about is subsidy. There's quite a few questions around subsidy. And I don't know why I'm jumping into this one, because it's the one that I know least amount, and it's the only reason why I know the least amount about subsidy is it's out of my control. So the state continually is helping families out more, but we're in a state of transition where the thresholds of how you qualify for subsidy have gone up twice so far this year, and they go up one more time on October 1st. I know that the literature that they put out is. If you have a family of four, it's up to $176,000 of gross income. That your household makes that you could qualify for some level of assistance. And of course, there's graphs and everything like that. Then people say, well, how will I know how much I receive? And that's the tricky part. I have no idea. We have some families where one student gets full subsidy and the other child gets no subsidy. Because of how big we are, again, we have a really tight relationship with Child Care Resource where I can call them up and ask for more clarifications, but it's in such a state of flux that no one really has solid answers for me. So what we encourage all families to do is we encourage all families to apply. There's really not a reason not to. And we've done that with our other sites, and we're gonna continue to send out communication how to do that, but
The actual price.
of our program. Yeah.
Oh, what is that, what about dates?
Yeah, so it's a full chart on our website, and I think that you actually have to go to the registration link. I should have brought that with me. It's stuff that my registrar and bookkeeper can name off the top of their head really quickly. I don't look at it too often. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about subsidy, it makes no sense at all, and we've talked to the state about this. You get the same amount of subsidy whether you come 1 day or 5 days. So if you get 100% subsidy, then you get the full amount, like the program gets the full amount regardless of how many days. So we always encourage families to take advantage of it, like have the kids signed up, and then if you don't need it, you can always call the director in the morning and say, hey, Greta's gonna go home on the bus today. That sometimes having that insurance, if something comes up in the afternoon, or if you want time to yourself, there's a lot of nuance with. But we do have a 1 day rate, a 2 day rate, a 3 day rate, 4 day, 5 day. Yeah.
Jeff, how often do you register? Do you structure by the semester, by the month?
By the year.
By the year.
Yeah, and then one of the frequently asked questions that asked if there was a schedule change fee, and we do have a schedule change fee. Mainly because there will be kids on the wait list. So we try to get parents to commit to one schedule to keep that spot, because then it just makes it. So if you add days, there's not a schedule change fee. If you reduce days, then there is. Yeah. And I think it was $30 per change. So if you do it quarterly, it'd be $120 a year, or 90, I guess, if there's only 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still with the kids.
Mhm.
Children.
Are there any other burning questions? I never mind giving out my cell phone, so I'll say it for the video recording, but it's 825-1919-802. You can always call or text with a question. My email is jeff@part2kids.com. So you can, it's the number 2. Yeah. PART2kids.com. That's also our website, part2kids.com.
Generally speaking,
Yep.
they're available 5 days a week.
Yep.
It can all with you, yes, kids can go directly there, because they just walk up to Part2, wherever it is,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
MSMS can participate, but they're gonna be older and they're gonna be with a bunch of young kids, and that's there too, right?
No,
Or will they have their own special programs for MSMS?
yeah, so Abby does a really nice job. They're either counselors in trainings where some kids actually like to help out with the
Okay.
littles, or they are with their own age group.
So presently, there are MSMS kids in
Yes.
the program. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. That's fine. And then the price per day, we don't know exactly, but there's subsidies available. It's price per day, 2 days, 3 days, a
Yep.
week. It's $30 change fee per semester, per quarter, depending on what you're gonna do with your kids with soccer and
Yep.
all the rest of it, right?
Yep.
And it ends at 6 o'clock, so you can be picked up by 6 o'clock.
Yep.
There's a secondary bus that's coming into Roxbury at some point from Part 2, which we have to decide according to like other sports and all the rest of it, right? And what else would we need to know?
So if there is, at the beginning of the school year next year, some type of after-school program happening here in Roxbury, would that be a Part 2 program, or would that be something separate?
No, that will be something separate run by, right now, Casey. So we're
As a
working,
MRPS employee?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so we're right now designing from the Roxbury Transition Committee, they asked us to design a 2-day program, so we've got the general gist of what that would look like. It would be an additional fee.
So
Because,
we would register for that separately
Yeah.
than registering for Part
Yeah.
2, and they would be,
And would that also be at 6 o'clock or 5?
5:30.
5:30. Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah.
How many kids, just out of curiosity, from MSMS do the after school program?
So not many.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
and
tried to run one there.
yeah, no, we did. And so having done this for 25 years, we've always tried to figure out the middle school. And parents get really anxious around 5th and 6th grade. And then when it comes time to register, they're like, oh, my kid is doing this and this, and that happened with me as well. It's just, it's one of those things where you don't know until you know, and then, but there are some, 8th graders that are with us still, and like, it's all parent comfortability and, yeah, what,
Sports options that open up at 7th, 8th grade, right? 5th and 6th have a
Yeah.
little bit less options.
Yep.
And then, depending on the child, right? I mean, some 10-year-olds are very mature and some are not, so we're still just
Yeah.
trying to navigate that, right?
yeah,
It's a common question with you, we have MSMS, trying to understand the issue together. That there's a possibility to do that. So
Yeah.
it's good to know possible.
yeah.
And Ryan, we were talking about last night to make the Roxbury, just in case you're thinking about it, and Hannah was the one who was like, 5th grade sports are not happening on Wednesdays generally, so we thought about if we hold the Roxbury program here, it'd be Wednesday and Friday looking like. So if you're thinking about days, but what I would do if I were in your shoes is I'd sign up for Part 2 for the full-fledged 5 days, and then we'll work it out from there. And if it's the beginning of the year, we can work that out in terms of change. I'm speaking for Jeff right now.
No, that's
Yeah,
what I was just gonna say, if Libby says Jeff Roxbury parents aren't gonna get charged a change fee in the beginning of the year as we work through all, like, that's how easy it is, so, yeah.
Maybe the bus. What time is the regular bus getting there, whether I need after school or not, is gonna depend on when that bus is getting to our
Yeah.
road.
So the bus will get to Roxbury anywhere between 3:35-ish probably, and depending on where you live on the route, 4:30.
Yeah, and that 4 o'clock on is one thing, before 4 o'clock is a whole different story.
Right, exactly.
I don't get it. Why
That needs to-
Melissa?
That needs to be known before we know what you need for after school care.
you can pick your kid up or not.
Sorry,
It's when you can pick your kid up or not.
I see, but you're saying, what is she asking, Melissa? What do
The
you?
regular bus from you.
Yeah,
gets to
comes
the
at
end
what
of the
time?
road,
3:35?
Central.
Uh-huh.
Is the tipping point for some families is that 4 o'clock range.
Oh, I see.
Do I even need after school if the bus isn't gonna get
Right.
to me till 4 o'clock?
Because
Right.
buses that bus can be your
Regular.
after-school care for
Yeah.
an hour.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and whether or not to just extend the day of your kid, and just make them there till
And
5:30.
we've talked about the East Roxbury bus, village bus in the morning, meeting at the 64 park and ride. Is that the same situation happening on the way home?
I think we need to know how many kids, right? Because if 20 kids go to Part 2,
Right.
But isn't,
then
wouldn't
that
Part
would
2
that
also?
would change
Yeah.
what we need. Yeah,
Wouldn't Part 2 bus come together with the after-school bus of the sports?
yeah. He's talking about the one right
The
after
normal
school.
Oh,
dismissal.
I see.
This
But
says-
once again, we come back to what time. So if it's same thing for us, if they're here at 4.
Yeah.
We don't need,
I would
Yeah. Yeah.
use look at the Main Street Middle School, what's that, plus M1,
MR1.
MR1. Look at the Main Street bus, that schedule now, because it's not gonna be drastically different from that. I would look at that as a
Is that
general.
available?
Yeah, it's
for-
on our, if you just go to the quick links on our website, Skip,
Okay,
and then there's bus routes,
okay.
it's MR1, it's right there.
MR1.
Yeah, I would look at that for a general idea of what time.
The drop here, we're not-
Yeah.
The drop
Yeah.
for us is
Yeah,
4:12.
nice to meet you.
Say it again,
Yeah.
Melissa?
The drop here is about 4 o'clock, the drop for us is 4:12. And if that's the.
That's for the middle
here,
school?
That's the middle school bus, so if that's 4:12, then it's a whole different story for my children than.
I would imagine it's gonna be generally the same time.
I don't think you're gonna get a lot of
Ish.
part two kids then. No, you know.
But if it's 2 buses, that makes a difference because that bus goes to East Roxbury first before it comes all the way over here.
Melissa,
So
what,
that could change.
what you could do is, like Libby said, is sign up for part two. And there's a tab on it that says I qualify for some. There's a way to get around the registration fee, because I want you to sign up. And then maybe that first week, see when the bus gets there, and then just call me up and say, yeah, we're all set.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
jumping
yeah,
in.
no, of course, yeah.
Okay, Amber, you're fine.
So just because and I apologize for this, so you're saying we can register if we're interested, but we're not committed to paying right now?
That's what, it seems like there's some question around when the busing
Okay,
and how that would affect people, so, what I'm maybe speaking out of turn, I think that there's a way to get around the registration fee, but I'm not entirely sure.
okay.
But the other thing we can do is, the part that I said before is I'm reserving space for all Roxbury families.
Okay.
So maybe it's just a verbal agreement, like you have a spot if you need it, let me know after that first week.
Is there someone we could specifically email for that to say like
Me,
you specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, and we have your.
Jeff at part two kids, yeah, yeah,
What neither of us want is for anybody to be stuck without aftercare.
Right.
They need it.
yep.
Yeah.
But Amber, they also talked about the breadth of the, or scale of the subsidies available and just the fact that it's better to apply. Because it's quite a high threshold that we get some sort of subsidy.
Yep.
Yeah, Amber's
It's
like
actually
the
pretty
one
good.
person who got like information from the state. So
Yeah, I've gone through that process before and then I passed it on to everybody because it can be really helpful. It's daunting. The paperwork isn't fun, but there's people that can help you with it. And I want you to pass that on to the people in the community because it could cost very little.
Yeah.
And
If you just go through that paperwork.
And then October 1st, the thresholds increase.
Yeah.
Which will
Yeah.
mean, and they increase substantially, so even if parents apply in September and don't get the full amount.
Right.
If you get a partial, then you're gonna get a lot more in
More in
October
October,
1st, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
And
it's-
why they didn't do August 20th
Yeah.
is the date, I don't
That's
know,
where we're in
but
the state.
yeah.
Maybe in November, it'll all change again anyway.
That's not that you know, November.
And it's probably nothing typical, but do you have a sense of the turnaround time from when a family applies for subsidy to when they
It
are
says 30
informed?
days.
30 days?
I said 30 days.
Okay.
If you apply now, it'll be quicker. If you apply on August 15th, it'll be longer.
So what's
Oh,
the
oh,
maximum amount of time we can't see our children or don't see our children in a day? It's still 6, right? That's what we all do.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have to see my kids until 6:30. Is that right?
You pick them up. You pick them up. If the bus drops them
I
off,
pick
it's
them
early.
up and then they come back to Rockville, then it's 6:30.
Exactly.
You pick them up.
Yeah. So,
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, the thing, we allow all kids to come and start at our program while subsidy is being
Process.
determined process, yeah, so, even if you apply, we hope that people would apply before August 20th, but if you apply on August 26th, the first day of school, or whenever your first day is, your child can attend, and then, we won't charge until.
But you know, the really great thing is having been in U32 and having to go to, I would go to dance class every night at 6 o'clock, and there was this awkward time and we would be at like a bagel cafe. I mean, at least if you are doing night, anything in Montpelier in the evening, but 6 o'clock, this is the perfect segue. Because remember the question was, where are the kids gonna go? The library, the whatever, if they're put there until 6 and then you go to another event or an evening stuff, it's really helpful.
And trust me, I would love to have your kids, it's not gonna make or break us, so I wanna say this with that as a caveat. Is that after school is a special time, and I really firmly believe that like the socialization that happens in after school. And like just watching the kids in the circus, you don't get the full. It's just something different between school and after school. So like, even if you don't need it, I would encourage a couple of days, because I mean, that's where a lot of the learning of how do we get along with each other happens. So, and especially being in a new school, they're gonna meet a ton of new people there.
And it fills a gap with the transportation.
The other thing I want to make sure we state is that you don't close, like if there's a snow day, part two's done. But very rarely have we talked about like, we need to close after school for,
Never.
yeah, like that doesn't happen in
Well, yeah,
terms of
but-
like, if it's inclement weather that's coming at 4:30,
Oh,
they stay open.
Yeah.
There's, if a staff member doesn't show up, they're open,
Because we have enough to
yeah.
backfill.
They also do half days, right?
Whenever you have an early dismissal.
So there's
It's-
care there.
Bridges.
And I don't think you charge extra for that.
No.
do you? So like there's care for the part two or for the part days and or half days, and then they also have vacation and summer kind of stuff going on too. So there's a lot of offerings that parts, this is one of the reasons why we went with them, because there's so many offerings that they give us that kind of homegrown programs, and it's not a knock on this homegrown program here, but it's just, they don't, some of the challenges that we have with homegrown programs doesn't happen here. So they might call people and say, you can't pick your kids up earlier, the late bus could come a little earlier. Like, let's do that if the weather's really bad, but that doesn't really happen.
No, and we're there until 6, either way. It's just making sure everyone gets home safely.
I have a question.
yeah, of course.
So, I agree with you in terms of like the power of after school.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've been in the after school world for a while, and I think that this community's become accustomed to like the magic that occurs
Yeah.
out on that playground. And that also, you know, while it's like a very functional thing, we're like, okay, we don't have to see our kids, we can go to work, blah, blah, blah. But it's like the times that when parents get brought in to see the performances and to see the displays of their work and the learning, that we all really have the opportunity to see the impact of the program in our kids and their relationships.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, does part two also do something like that in terms of like culminating events where parents are invited in and you can see what they've been up to so we can get a sense of the quality of the program? and the
Yeah,
offerings?
they just had the family, the part 2 family party was June 6th. The thing that parents like a lot is that we, during the holidays, we do a parents' night out where we keep the kids until 8:30. Where the parents can go shopping or a dinner or anything like that. But then, parents are, so often they'll come in and their child won't want to leave, and then they get engaged in the activity that the child is doing at that particular time. But yes, throughout the year, there are special events that the parents come in. But we encourage parents to be as much part of the program as you'd like.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I agree that, and I know especially with my daughter, like I connected with her while she was doing activities way easier than like in the car. Like,
Yeah.
like pulling
I mean,
information,
I
yeah.
got teenagers, the
Yeah.
only time they talk to me is when I'm in the car with them.
We need
Yeah.
a third medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So how do we just like put this in a kind of a easily absorbable and, you know, kind of bullet point for the rest of the, because most people didn't make it here, obviously. And I feel like this is pretty important information, because the misinformation going around is that it costs money, it's expensive, it's going to, you know, it's lottery, it's not reliable. That's what I understood, you know,
No,
not true at all. So
it's not surprising, but I think the video is gonna be something that is shareable. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and just let me know, I'm happy to come as often as I need to. Because once you hear from the source, then it's a little bit different.
right, but I think we can do better.
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking for like, is there a one pager
Yeah.
that can be created that
Yeah.
just like gives
Yeah.
you all kind of the basic
I think
details?
we'd like hand it out, because I think a lot of Roxburyans would be happy to know this.
I think we can do that. I can have Anna look at the video and do a one pager kind of, like she's been doing for everything. We'll pass it by Jeff's eyes to make sure that we have everything important, and then I'll throw it to Kristen to see if we missed anything. And
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Tina can hand it out with, you know, a handout at the end of the day.
Yep.
Because this is important, and the email.
And I think being able to add any of the, you know, while subsidy can be a little bit cryptic, the information that we do have available to us for it to be linked onto that FAQ page
Yeah.
in terms of like the income threshold and what you qualify for, if you're a family
Absolutely.
of four at this income. So at least, well, it's not a guarantee, it at least maybe gives people like a little bit of a ballpark.
Yep.
I was
So-
telling Christina, my business manager, who I may call you
Yep.
as a last resort, she called 3 people at the state to get that information. Okay, let's just hypothetically say,
Won't do it.
I am a family of 4, I make this income. What would the subsidy be? And they're like, can't do it.
Hmm.
So they,
It's unbelievable, yeah,
It's bureaucracy.
That is
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
but there are charts, but
Yes.
just like determining, okay, this means
Extrapolate
this,
from there.
this
to
means this amount.
reality.
But it
Yeah.
does sound like that's a high threshold. I don't think anyone in Roxbury is gonna price out.
Well, I think it shows you that like you can actually
So I
be
think
at a
that's-
higher income bracket and you can apply for a lot. And we talked about this last night. The message is apply.
yeah,
You might actually be really surprised what, you know, you will get in subsidies. So really encouraging folks to do so. And it sounds like the timeliness of that, like apply now so that
They're
you
not
have a
so
clear
busy.
sense of what you're eligible for when you're looking at, okay, what are my costs of childcare going to be in the upcoming school year? So
Yeah.
folks can predict that.
But just in terms of a comms perspective, like the more charts and data, the less people are gonna read it. The real.
That I'm
message
saying
needs to
just
be-
add to the FAQ. I'm not saying add that to the one pager. I
Yeah,
think
it
that one should
just
be just
like,
nuts and
for
bolts.
everyone, you know, you should apply just so we have numbers and
Mhm.
everybody's got a place, we know that, you know, there's a
Yep.
subsidy available. Everything can be determined a little bit later on. you know,
Yep.
Later, further down the line.
Yeah, the one thing I'm thinking about is the parents that know I need after school, I would send them through the registration process. The parents that are, I'm not sure if I need it or not, then that should just be an email to me.
we can put
Yeah,
that
so
in.
that's the one. The one unknown is the busing and do I need this or not, or, yeah.
And the
So,
busing, we should probably start to hone in on, hopefully in mid-July, in terms of what the schedules are gonna look like. And just the new routes and the times that can get shaved off, having 2 buses, so that folks can be making informed decisions. But I think what I heard you say is that go ahead and register.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and kind of change it. And there may be a way to kind of circumvent the registration fee.
yeah, that's why I think the people that are on the fence, that they just.
They should email you.
Yeah, and that one pager. If you're unsure if you need after school.
Yeah.
Let Jeff know and then I'll save that spot, and then hopefully before the beginning of the school year.
Yeah,
I can reach out to those families directly and say, do you have a sense? Because then I would ask them to go through the registration process and figure out how to circumnavigate the.
Cause
The
just based on the amount of children that are at Bridges and the people in this room, there's a big gap.
Yeah.
So we gotta get this information.
I have a kind of a nitty gritty question, like, how do you all, in terms of discipline? Do you all mirror kind of discipline behavior expectations of the district? Do you have your own policies? Like, what's the continuum between the school day and after school in terms of what kids should expect to be expected of them?
Yeah,
Just the consistency.
yeah, so Katie and Abby meet regularly. Katie's the building principal
Right.
at UES. And then one of the questions happened to be on that restorative practices, so.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great to hear.
Yeah, so we, not only do we mirror everything that the school does in terms of playground rules, cafeteria rules, all of those, because consistency is everything. It's also, how do we, with our program, what's different about our program than the school is that we don't have funding for one-to-one assistance. So the kids that have extra assistance during the day, they come to us sometimes without. And in our handbook, we say all kids are welcomed as long as they can participate with that 1 to 13. And I can't tell you how many kids have assistance during the school day that don't and after school and are successful
Mhm.
because it fits their learning style a little bit easier and a little bit better. So, but that's why it's even more important for us to have the restorative approach to discipline is that everyone has to be saints and patient and really be able to work with the students on making sure that everyone is treated with respect and kindness and caring and all of those things. Yeah.
If there's a student that does have a one-on-one that does need that support, is that something that the district provides if it's part of their IEP or?
I don't believe we have any kids on IEP who have it after school as part of their IEP.
Mhm.
If it's a school sanctioned event, yes, you have to provide the one-to-one, but if it's it's, like I said, we're different entities, so that would not qualify for it.
And Christine asked about that because she was something, right, like just nonverbal autistic, it's gonna be tough, so.
Mhm.
ESY services are a little bit different. So sometimes we have kids that have summer services built into their, it's again, whatever is built into their
It's true,
IEPs.
you guys
Then-
do that.
Then they try to incorporate students that have ESY services, extended school year, into the program for the socialization, and sometimes kids have socialization as part of their IEPs for extended school year services. So yeah, there is a little bit of overlap. There's also grants through the state that parents can apply for to give assistance. So that has also happened before. Where there's more money in certain places, that money has decreased over the years, which doesn't really make sense, but the earlier we can get that information, the earlier the parents can apply, the better, obviously, the better of a chance. So then once it's called a special accommodations grant, and once you have the special accommodations grant, then it allows us to use that money to pay for a person to help that student.
Good to know. I'll pass that on to
We
you, Sue.
probably need special accommodation. Just kidding.
Yeah, oh, you're, yeah,
Ryan, did
think-
you have a question?
all kids that need,
To step
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Even me.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
yeah, nice to meet you.
Thanks, Ryan. Any last questions? To get this up.
Just gonna go scrub some face paint.
So cute though.
I just checked